Hey everyone, Richard here. Been a while since you see me on this side of the camera. It's that time of year again where everyone's showing off their top 50 comics, and I figured I'd jump in on that. But to change it up a little bit from what I usually do, I'm going to be showing my top 50 slabbed comics in my collection. These will be in strict order of value, which is also something I don't normally do. Just some things to keep it interesting for me. I actually made a spreadsheet, broke it down in value. So yeah, with that, we'll get into it. All right. So first book. This book actually surprised me that it is, I guess, as affordable as it is. I might have undervalued it a little bit because it is signed, but Justice League of America number 75. That is signed by the late Denny O'Neil. This is the first appearance of the second Black Canary. This is when she joins the Justice League of America. And yeah. This book I actually probably personal value a lot higher than some of the other books in this pile, but here's the first one. Second book, another book that's kind of hard to price. Raw copies are going for quite a bit, but there's also been graded copies that have gone for much less. So I kind of just averaged it out, but this is Dead World number 10. This is the variant cover, but what matters is this side, Crow, and it's signed by James O'Barr. So, yeah. Next up is my Amazing Spider-Man number 195. It is signed by Al Milgrom right here, 9.4. It's a nice high-grade Bronze Age book. Second appearance of Black Cat. This next one is, again, a book that was kind of difficult to price. I based it off of what graded copies that were not newsstand went for, and I just upped it up a little bit. I might have actually, again, undervalued it, but Angela number 1, 9.6 newsstand. Another book that I'd probably value higher on a personal level, just because I really, really like this cover. Yeah, newsstand copy. Next book is just a variant that kind of surprised me on its value. Lady Death, All Hallows Evil number 1, signed by James O'Barr. This is the James O'Barr variant. Really nice artwork on it. Yeah. Next book. All New Wolverine number 1, J. Scott Campbell variant, signed by J. Scott Campbell. This is when Laura Kinney takes on the Wolverine mantle. Just a really nice cover. Yeah, one of the few modern J. Scott Campbell covers I do enjoy. Next book is another J. Scott Campbell variant, Black Widow number 1, signed by him right here. I believe this is the 1 in 50 or 1 in 25. I don't remember offhand, but really, really nice cover. Another book that's a little bit difficult to value, just because it's signed, but Fantastic Four number 86, 8.0, signed there by Joe Sinott. Another late great. And a great Doctor Doom cover. Next up is a Golden Age book, Heartthrobs number 11. This one makes the list because it is a double cover. Found this for $1 at a bookstore. And it actually took a while before I realized it was a double cover. But very nice. And it's interesting because the exterior cover is actually a higher grade than the interior cover, which is kind of rare to see with double covers. But yeah, real nice photo cover from 1952. Next up, this is a book that has fallen quite a bit, but still makes the list. Avenging Spider-Man number 9. First, Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel. Yeah. This is a book I never actually got pressed or anything. It probably would have graded higher had I done that, but it's for the PC. It doesn't really matter. Another book that I may have undervalued because I basically valued it at an unsigned value. But X-Men Unlimited number 47. This is signed by Joshua Middleton down here. My favorite modern artist, hands down. Nice 9.8. So, yeah. And this is probably redundant, but another book that's kind of hard to value, mainly because there aren't very many graded copies. This is the only signed graded copy, and it also has a sketch. So I bumped up the value a little bit, and based on recent releases, it's probably somewhere in this range. But it is the Comics Interview number 68, signed by Mark Nelson right there. The little alien sketch right there. Just really, really nice. Like I said, this is the highest grade copy, period, and the only signed copy across CGC and CBCS. And another one that's hard to value. Essentially because this is more or less a one-of-a-kind as far as I know, but Wildstar number 1, this is the manufacturer error where it's missing the silver foil. To value this one, I basically just looked at other no-name manufacturer books and see what they kind of were average reselling for. And yeah, that's how I got to this one. Again, not a book I would ever sell because it's essentially a one-of-a-kind, and I've just always wanted a manufacturer error foil. So there's that one. Next up is a Death Widow number 1. This is a homage cover to Black Widow number 1 from 1999. Limited to 66 copies, signed by Brian Pulido. It's a nice looking book. And it has a little authentication thing in the back. These next two are a pair. Very, very hard to value these ones because they don't come up for sale very often. And I believe it was limited to 80 copies, if I remember right. It might have been a little bit more, a little bit less, somewhere in that general range. But it's the Still Ill Princess 10th anniversary cover by Dan Mendoza. We have the normal and the risk behind it. Unsigned copies of this insane grade went for about $160 each. So I upped the value a little bit, but not a whole lot, just to throw these ones in there. And 1 second while I grab the next stack. Alright, so this next book is just now starting to sort of get appreciated, if you will. It's a very, very hard book to get in a 9.8. It took me 4 tries, and it's not an easy book to find in the first place. Savage Dragon number 1 from the limited series. First appearance of Savage Dragon. Obviously there's a first appearance of Dragon in general, but very hard newsstand copy to get a hold of in a 9.8. If I were speccing on anything, I think this is probably a good book to hold on to. Harley Quinn number 3 is the next book. It is the steampunk variant. I got this very cheap in a lot of books, and to my surprise, it's actually worth a little bit still. I had thought it had fallen, but it seems to still be doing pretty well. And it's just a really, really cool cover by Tommy Lee Edwards. Next book, Zombie Tramp number 1. This is the reprint of the first appearance, but this is the first appearance as far as a major publisher goes, because the original first appearance is obviously a self-published book. might have undervalued this a little bit because this is a very, very hard book to get. And it's very hard to get in high grade because it has tons of manufacturing errors that just naturally came with this book. The highest graded signed copy is a 9.4, and there's only 2 of those, I believe, across CGC and CBCS. Less than 35 graded copies total, signed or otherwise. Just a very tough book, signed by Dan right here in pink. And yeah. Next up is a Darth Vader #1 Mark Brooks variant, signed by Mark Brooks right here in red. One of my favorite modern Star Wars covers that's come out of Marvel anyway. Just a great, great homage, and you can definitely see the tragedy of Vader in this cover. Next book, Amazing Spider-Man 194, and a 7.0 signed by Al Milgrom right here. This is a book that I keep several copies of. This just happens to be the one I decided to get graded in slabs, so yeah, there's that. Next book, Strange Tales 180, first appearance of Gamora in a 9.2. Yeah, paid very little for this book. I remember the seller had called it a 6.0, but after press, it was a beautiful book. Next book, Strange Tales 101, Silver Age book. This is the first, I believe, first solo Human Torch story since 1954. Yeah, 1954. Classic book, classic cover. This one has a really bad miswrap on this side. But yeah. Another book I kind of had to ballpark the value on. I basically looked up books that were manufacturer errors of more popular characters to get this value. My personal value of this book is much higher, but I wanted to be fair in this assessment. This is my manufacturing error X23 number 20, manufactured with a Thunderbolts page in it. So, yeah. Here's a book that has pretty steadily gained value, has a fairly hard to get signature on it. Aliens #1, first appearance of Aliens in comics. Mark Nelson's signature down here. Yeah, not an easy signature to get a hold of in my experience from what I've seen. So, yeah, one of my favorite books in my collection in general. This book only recently saw new heights in value, and I actually had forgotten I'd picked this up quite a ways back. Low grade, but special Marvel edition number 15, first appearance of Shang-Chi. That movie's look like it's going to be really good, so excited to have this. Less than $100 into this book, so yeah. Next book is a probably top 5 DC character for me. Batman 635, first appearance of Red Hood Jason Todd. Yeah, one of my favorites. Next book. Values of books from this point on kind of just skyrocket. All of the books up to this point have been sort of in the same range. This book right here is a top 10, if not top 5 book for me personally. Value-wise, it's a little bit less than that, but Black Widow #2, Stephanie Hahn's variant. Been talking about this book basically as long as I've had this channel, so a long time. But yeah, beautiful book. up is a classic, Green Lantern number 76, signed by Neil Adams down here. Book I probably should have looked at a little bit more. There's some staining on it, but presents really, really nice for the grade. Another book that I have less than $100 into, which was significantly more than that, Tales to Astonish, number 36 in a 6.5, the third overall appearance of Ant-Man. Yeah, very clean looking book. Only real flaw to it is a slight color blanking crease right here. So yeah. And it's got the old slab. One of my all-time favorite characters for this next book, NYX number 3 in a 9.4. This is one of those books I probably should have had pressed before I graded it. It has a non-color breaking bend down here, but I'm not going to bother. It's a PC book, and X-23's one of my favorites, so yeah. Alright, gotta grab another stack. Alright. So this book, I'm definitely sure I undervalued because I don't really know of any examples of other double-signed copies. I'm sure they exist, but I couldn't find sold data on any of them. So again, undervalued this, but Supergirl and Legion of Superheroes number 23, Adam Hughes, Mark Waid, beautiful 9-2, and probably my all-time favorite Adam Hughes cover. No, definitely my favorite Adam Hughes cover. Next book. This was a book I paid cover price for. This is my original reader copy. Didn't press it or anything, but Edge of Spider-Verse number 2, 9.6. First appearance of Spider-Woman, Spider-Gwen, whatever you want to call it. The reason I got back into collecting comics, I saw this cover when I had hit a hobby shop, and I had to pick it up and see what it was about. The rest is history. Next book, pretty big book, Star Wars Clone Wars, number 1. First appearance of AHSOKA. This is a book I found at an antique mall for $5. So, big win for me. And yeah. What more can you say about that? It's AHSOKA. Here's a book I picked up locally, off Craigslist of all places, but Batman 181, signed by Joe Giella, however you say his last name, I'm never quite sure, you look it up at some point. But 3.5, has the centerfold, yeah, got this raw, and yeah. A book that is hard to value simply because it is virtually impossible to find. It took me years and years to find a copy, and the offers I've had on this copy are substantial. But Lovers, number 49, J. Scott Pike cover. Man went on to be a very famous pinup artist, art in things like Playboy. So yeah. Up. Batman Adventures, number 12 and a 9.2. Yeah, actually got this off someone in the community for a very cheap price. I think they undervalued it. So yeah. This book has definitely gone up in value recently. Again, I kind of valued it around unsigned price, but this is a signed copy. Star Wars number 1. Signed by Tom Palmer. who inked this cover. Next book, definitely a pride of my collection. Book I found for $1 at an antique mall. X23 #1 Vitellotto variant. As far as personal favorites, this would be in the top 5, no competition. Value-wise, it's fallen a little bit, but I think it's actually gone up again. So, very cool book. Next book, Tales of Suspense #52, first appearance of Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff in a 4.0. A book that I paid about the price of a 1.8 at the time. So this book's definitely gone up quite a bit since then. One of my favorite characters, one of my favorite books. Final stack coming up. So we're at the top 10 slab books in my collection. Some of these books actually surprised me in their value. For instance, the first one I'm going to show you has actually probably doubled in value since I've done my last top 50, which is insane to me. But Marvel Spotlight #5, first appearance of the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider in a 4.5. Actually found this at a yard sale with a stack of other Ghost Rider books for next to nothing. Got it graded, came back 4.5 several years ago now. But crazy what this book has done in value recently. Next book, House of Secrets '92 in a 5.5. First appearance of Swamp Thing. This book has history with me. I had sold it at one point when it was a 7.0 that I had cracked out myself, but I was done at the time. Sold it, regretted it, and it took me years. And then I found the exact same copy on eBay. In a 5.5, there's a tear right here that is much larger than it was when I had it. Someone clearly mishandled it. But I'm just glad to have it back in my collection. Yeah. Next book, Amazing Spider-Man 129. First appearance of Punisher. Severe misrap on this book. This book has also gone up quite a bit in value recently. I found this at a swap meet for, I believe, $120? No. It was less than that. I don't know. It was several years ago. I think it might have been like $60. It was cheap. So yeah, very glad to have this one in my collection. Next book, again a favorite character of mine, Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider #1, the 1/100 variant. One of those books I didn't think I was going to get because I pre-ordered it and I thought it was going to get canceled because they released the artwork after the pre-order and it blew up. But I lucked out, got this for $70 shipped at the time. Got it graded. Yeah. Next book is another one that's always been an expensive book, but has been rising and rising and rising in value. Werewolf by Night, #32, 6.5. First appearance of Moon Knight. Top 5 character for me. For a while, people made fun of this book, and it's kind of crazy to see what it's doing now. Next book, Action Comics 252. Actually, I have 2 copies of this, but I didn't want to show both in the video. My other one is a lower grade. But first appearance, Supergirl. Again, top 5 character for me. And yeah. This next one is a book I don't show super often. It's one I kind of just enjoy for myself, but Fantastic Four, #5. As you see, it's in 0.5. It is missing the page 12 Hulk pinup, and page 5 has a severe tear in it where it's more or less barely connected at this point. But it's not a book I would be flipping through anyway, so yeah. First Appearance of Doctor Doom. This book has done crazy things even in this grade. Yeah. Hoping Doom shows up in the MCU. Next book. Another book that has been blowing up. I paid $450 for this last year, which is a good deal at the time, but it's a really, really good deal now. I got it graded. Daredevil, #1, 2.5, First Appearance of Daredevil, Foggy, and Karen. So yeah, big book for me. Only 2 more books to go, and surprisingly enough, both are modern books. They're sort of mega modern books. Edge's Spider-Verse #2, Greg Land variant, 9.6. Picked this up right before all of these moderns started really, really taking off in value, so glad I did. This is my #1 character. This is probably my #1 book in my collection, even though it's not value-wise there. But yeah. And #1, this is my second favorite book in my collection. Star Wars Clone Wars #1, double signed by Ashley Eckstein, Matt Lanter, voice actors for the 2 characters, First Appearance of AHSOKA. Yeah, paid $9 for this at a antique ball. Got it graded, it came back an 8.5. Was very upset about that. Cracked it, sent it immediately out again to get signed, and now it's a 9.6. Yeah. That is my top 50. Those of you who've watched me for a long time, you might notice that some of my bigger books that I've shown before weren't in this top 50. Some of my books actually got stolen semi-recently. So that's kind of a bummer, but I didn't want people wondering where some of those books might be. But yeah, that's my top 50. If you watch this, do a top 50. They're some of the most fun content to watch. It's how I personally find a lot of new people on YouTube. And yeah, that's basically all there is to it. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and take care, everyone.